Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
arrived. To demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact
the truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Hope you had a good weekend. I had an interesting time. Went out to see the Conscious Life Expo on Saturday. I'll tell you about a little bit more about that in a bit. But let's get to today's events. See what's going on here today. Today's the 10th of February. And we could see that we have two signs here for our moon sign. So we're between Gemini and between Cancer. So we look to see what time that transition takes place, and it says 12:33 a.m. So we have arrived. So just after midnight here on the west coast, we enter into this period of Cancer. Cancer is a water sign. Okay, so we have a water sign, Cancer. And it is a sign that deals with emotions. In the tarot card, it would be the Chariot, the charioteer, the one who has the armor on to protect himself from all of the emotions. So we have Cancer as our moon sign, and our sun sign, Aquarius, which is air. So we have all these words and actions that are expressing themselves on the outside with that Aquarian mindset, which is looking to the future and creating all these great things we want to create. Think back to the age of Aquarius and all those, ideals that went on there. That's the idea that Aquarius represents. And then underneath that today, those emotions are flowing underneath. So we don't want to let the emotions overwhelm us. We want to make sure that we, understand what's going on with them. Now we have a couple of aspects we need to deal with. One of them is Neptune. That's in the next couple hours. This aspect goes into place, and this is between the moon sign Cancer and Neptune, which is a sign that deals with, in the tarot cards, it would be the Hangman. So it's telling us we need to look at things from a different perspective. It represents Neptune. So there's a good vibe, a good energy between the watery emotions of Cancer and the Neptunian energies of kind of looking at what we want, so creating what we want. So there's some nice harmony going on there. A little bit later this evening, we have Uranus is in a square with Cancer, and that's going to bring a little bit more of a different type of a challenge. Uranus is unexpected events, surprises, quick changes, things of this nature. And with the emotions there, well, we know what can happen with emotions. Emotions can get triggered pretty quick. So there's a square. It means there's a lesson that needs to be learned, some sort of block that we need to get past. And that's later this evening. That aspect takes place. So just be aware of all of these things. There's a lot of emotions going on today. So as you go throughout the day, just keep that in mind, the emotions that are out there, so that, if you find yourself in somewhat of an emotional place, you understand why that is occurring. Okay. Then we're going to move from here. Let's look at what's going on with the sky this week. This is our sky. So if you're looking up, this is what you'll be seeing. It says the moon and Jupiter shine about 5 degrees apart this evening. That's in North America. They're in the foot of Gemini. They're in the feet of Gemini, although they look close together. Jupiter is 1,630 times further away and 40 times larger in diameter. Alright, so you see the moon, you'll see Jupiter. Gemini's right here, so you can kind of get an idea of where they're at. So as you're looking at them, it's Gemini sort of laying on its side. Castor and Pollux, the two twins. Okay. The moon phase is making its way up to that full moon. We're 84% of the way there. We'll be there in the next couple days. The Mayan Oracle, we're almost to the end of this wave spell. We're at the 12-tone day, which is called the crystal tone of cooperation. It's where you gather together to really kind of understand where you've been along this journey of this particular wave spell, this theme, and then to prepare to take that lesson forward with the next step, which is this jumper. So we've been at this wave spell of the human, which is free will. So we've been learning these lessons of free will, and now today we're at this place of the night, our unconscious, looking at our unconscious to see what we've understood, see what our intuition picks up about what we've learned through this process of learning about free will and all these different steps. And then tomorrow we're going to take what we've learned and plant that seed and jump to the next wave spell, which is just the next continual progression on from there. Okay? It's just ways in looking and understanding the cycles and understanding what they mean. We're giving symbolic representations to these energies. So today we have the night guided by the eagle. And it's 12 tones, so it's the 12 night guided by the eagle, or the crystal night guided by the eagle. And if you add the color in, blue crystal night, that's the name of today. So the phrase for today is, I dedicate in order to dream, universalizing intuition. I seal the input of abundance with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of vision. If you're following along on the long count, which still continues on, today's a 4 Keeb. And that's looking at the Zolkin following along there. Alright, let's move from here over to space weather. Our solar wind is 448.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is between the 2 and a 4, so we've got some activity going on. Nice little coronal hole down here at the bottom. We got one coming in towards us, and see how we're going to be affected, but that probably has something to do with why we're between the 2 and the 4, because there is something coming off of the sun, I'd imagine. Our flare possibility is down. M class has gone down. Now we're 40 going down to 30, and X class all the way down to 5, so we've really dropped significantly. We do still have this activity, probably from the solar wind. And our numerology for today, let's take a look at that. Today's a 1. Here's how we arrived at the 1. Okay, we've got the 2 plus the 10. So February 10th, that's a 3. 2 plus 1 plus 0. And then we know that 2014 is a 7, so 7 plus 3 equals a 10. And then the 10 is the 1 plus 0 equals 1. So today is a 1 day. Just another way of looking at the energy to understand. If you look at the numbers, it's kind of interesting because you can kind of follow the numbers along. They'll lead you along a path of understanding whatever it is it needs you to understand. So here's today. Number 1 is the beginning number. It's individualistic, independent, leadership, drive. 1s are masculine, focused, the originator, self-starter. It's also progressive, strong-willed, courteous, self-reliant, rebellious. And then you have the negative characteristics, can be stubborn, selfish, weak, undisciplined, or a pariah. And it's associated with Mercury, and the tarot card is the Magician. So this is the card of the Magician right here. Okay, this represents the number 1, and it's all about focus. You can see the number 1 right here on the card. It's all about focus. You have the Magician who has all of the tools available to him, the fire, the water, the air, in order to create the earth. And now the Magician's job is to take and focus all that energy through to manifest. And that's what this is about. It has one hand up high, saying that which is above, is as that which is below. That which is above is that which is created in the mind, in the thoughts, in that world of fire, of form, the spirit. Okay? So you go to there and you create that which is above. What you create with your mind now becomes manifest. That's why he's bringing the energy down. And that's what he's doing. The magician's all about focus. And the Hebrew letter assigned to this Beth is all about house, the house of God. And we are simply just allowing this energy to pass through us. So the ones are all about new beginnings, where we recognize that the beginning of anything, of all things, is that we are the magicians. And as we are the magicians, we create what it is that we choose to create. But at all times, the important thing as a magician to remember is we are co-creators with the process. So as long as we understand that, then we understand our role in co-creating with spirit, when we have to take action and when we have to step back and allow spirit to do what spirit needs to do. And it's like a dance. And that's what the job of the magician is. That's what the number one is all about, new beginnings. Okay? So there you have it. UFO news is up next. Let's check it out.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. We're going to start off this journey up by the sun today. UFOs near the sun. This was February 4th, so this was last week. Moonhazen74 of YouTube works hard to bring us new info on the UFO around the sun in the Soho NASA photos every week, and they never cease to amaze me. For instance, the cube is caught near the surface of the sun and has a bright orange glow, probably from the heat shield absorbing the sun's energy. NASA has never commented on the UFOs seen because if they did so, it would draw the public's attention onto it, causing a lot of discussion and research into that particular topic. That's not what NASA wants. Out of sight, out of mind, right? So again, here's a nice good video with all the different captures. It's 3 minutes worth. But pretty fascinating, huh? To know that there's something going on up there by the sun. And isn't it even more interesting that so few people are aware of this? You know, because you're seeing the particular stories, but unless they're being brought to your attention in this way, it's not like this is making the public airwaves. So it's interesting what some people in the world know and what some people are just unaware of. All right, let's move from the sun over to the volcano. Yes, you know which volcano. Popocatépetl. This is a screenshot from the live cam of Volcano Popocatépetl. I only had the cam on a few minutes when I saw this UFO or UFOs leaving the mouth of the crater. The camera only takes photos every 10 seconds, so I saved the photos and tried to make some enlargements of the UFO in the upper left corner of the photos. As you can see, the UFOs change color from white to purple to green and even red. It is a well-known fact that with researchers that there is an entrance to the underground alien base somewhere within the mouth of the volcano, but no one else dares enters it since there is a sheer 600-meter drop. Not to mention it is an active volcano, so many poisonous gases fill its crater. I made a GIF and put it below. The GIF is many photos put together to show a movie. I know a lot of people think these are stars, but stars at this cam move from top to bottom of the screen. Those glowing orbs at the upper right of the screen are there every night and never move much. Okay? So here we have some nice little images and Scott put up here. So pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Something's going on up there. Alright. Alright. From the volcano there in Mexico, now we're going to jump over to Taiwan via Google Earth map. There's an image that was caught there. This was over a military base. It says metallic disc over military base in Taiwan on Google Earth map. A reader of UFO Sightings Daily wrote me and asked me to look over this. He said he was living in Taiwan like myself. The UFO is over a building complex that had a tall brick fence with a barbed wire. I did confirm. The buildings are for Taiwan military use, but usually only used for months of each year for training. To find this UFO, you must use your Google map, which is a free to download. But know this, almost all of the 20 or more UFOs that I reported found in Google Maps have been deleted by Google within 3 to 6 months' time. So I find that it is important to create a video to document the sightings for the future. I, Scott C. Warren, made this video and can guarantee 100% that it is there, but please visit the location on Google Map to confirm this sighting. If you do find it, please leave a comment below for others to see. Thanks so much to the person who emailed this in to me, Scott C. Warren. And there's all the information on it, where it was, and the video. This is 8 minutes and 58 seconds. Just confirming the find here. Okay. So there you go. And let's jump on from here to our next location. This is over at Paris, France, February 9th. This interesting footage of a triangular-shaped craft flying across the sky above Paris, France was recorded on Sunday the 9th of February. The witness said, I just got my new camcorder, a Canon M52, first UFO sighting filmed with it. It recorded a massive bright UFO flying at an amazing speed through the clouds. The lights were making a strange trail as if they were cutting through the clouds. My hypothesis is that these objects are probably meteors, that they were so burning that they melt the clouds in their way. Maybe some people have another version. Tell me what you think, please. Alright, and these are all the things. Bright lights, unidentified, 40 seconds, white. And we can see it's very quick. On your larger screen, you see it much better. Okay. Just real quick. You gotta look real quick right there in the middle. Okay. So that's a good sighting right there. Now let's jump over to Italy. UFO filmed 50 feet from the ground. I will not disclose my identity, neither where I precisely live. I'm an Italian citizen. I live in the hills somewhere in the north of Italy. The sighting takes place in front of my eyes in the evening of December 10th, 2013. I was walking with my dog in total darkness when I noticed by the light that I turned my sight in the same direction from where the light was coming. The thing started to increase its frequency and morphing in color and changing, just weird. Then it started to hit me more at the frequency, so I stopped filming it and I came back home. I waited a few months before posting because I wasn't sure to share. The video comes straight out of my smartphone. The thing was perfectly hovering, noiseless, 15 to 20 meters from the ground. It was 50 to 70 meters from me. The thing was downhill compared to my position, floating on great trees. I'm just sharing to get in touch with people who know what I saw and recorded. Share as much as you can, but keep the watermark with my email in order to be reachable under this fake name. Alright, so interesting video. It's 3 minutes and 37 seconds. There was a note here. It said it takes just a bit, 2 minutes before this guy zooms in on the object. Okay, so let's jump ahead to 2 minutes. And we're just about there, and should really be able to zoom on in what's going on. Alright. There we go, we see a little bit better. Oh, look at that, that's pretty interesting looking object right there. Okay, so that was in Italy. Now, from Italy, we're going to go to Belgium. Look at this one. That's a pretty cool looking cloud, huh? Just not really much of anything other than this was taken in the sky. Goes back to earlier this year in the 3rd of January. I don't recall that we saw this one before, but this is pretty fascinating. Alright, let's go from here over to Mexico City. UFOs have been busy all over the world, huh? 2 minutes 36 seconds. This particular video. There we go, an orb-like object. Alright, this is over, this is Mexico, Tijuana. So we've certainly seen plenty of orbs. Not a stranger to those by any means. Alright, so let's go from here. One last piece, and this says, witness claims to have seen 7-foot translucent alien. Washington witness reports his entity crossing the highway. This bizarre alien sighting was recently reported to MUFON. A Washington witness driving along Interstate 5 in Vancouver, approaching the Paddon Parkway overpass, reported a 7-foot tall, translucent entity crossing the roadway, according to a February 8, 2014 testimony in case 53965 from the Mutual UFO Network Witness Reporting Database. The witness was approaching the overpass at 2:45 a.m. on January 31, 2014, and slammed on my brakes when the entity appeared in the middle of the road. I saw a being hovering about 5 feet above the ground in the middle of the freeway of the fast lane. I think it was in the process of crossing the freeway, the witness stated. It was about 1.5 car lengths in front of me. It was staring straight at me, and all I could feel was the extreme fear. The witness described the entity. The being was translucent in appearance, about 7 feet tall. It had long, lanky limbs. It did not appear to be clothed, yet did not look naked, as it was reflecting everything around it like you could see through it, but it still obviously had a definite form. It had a human-like form, except it had 2 semi-long flaps of skin or hair, hard to distinguish due to its translucent appearance, that was attached to the head. From the profile, it looked like it had slicked its hair or flaps back. The head was smooth and graduated into those 2 flaps by the napes of its neck. They were about 6 inches long. The witness reported that the entity immediately began to move. Then it faced east and took off running. However, it did not run like a human being or an animal I've seen. It ran with its whole body contorting, bending in half in a repetitive motion, fast and hovering. It did this extremely fast, leaving a sort of trail or impression of itself across the freeway. It ran across the median to the other side of the bushes on the other side of the northbound freeway on the ramp where it meets I-5. The witness had come to a complete stop. The whole time I stayed idling in my lane in the freeway. From the time I saw it and slammed on my brakes to the time it took off running across the freeway, everything was in extreme slow motion, like time was altered. It felt like the whole event took 10 minutes, but in reality the clock had only changed a minute at most. I was only in the car on the road. It was foggy, but the area was in where the entity was. The area had no fog, and the street light gave a golden orange glow to everything. The entity seemed to absorb the light. The being did not seem to have definite features. Then I drove on, freaked out. Alright, pretty cool. So maybe there's this alien out there in Washington running around, just trying to find its way. So if you're out there in Washington and you see this alien, don't necessarily think that he's out trying to hurt you. Maybe he's just trying to cross the street and get away. Alright? Who knows? Remember that movie? What was the movie? Paul, the alien. Remember he escaped from a lab? Hey, you never know. Alright. That is that for today. I'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Another alien visitor claimed that his race had been looking in on us for centuries, and that they had in fact influenced the course of human history in some rather critical and startling ways.
Listen up.
myself and I am someone else. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't sound so crazy to you if you've seen what I've seen. Corridors of time, dimensions of space, traveling through the universe, from place to place. Don't arouse suspicion of a membrane gone insane. Everything is possible, just gotta see with an open mind. Winds of change are blowing through. Sounds are in the air. A distant voice calls to me. I hear it everywhere. Communication from beyond. A message for this world. Cosmic signals sent to Earth. Beep, 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 beep. Don't arouse suspicion of a membrane gone insane. Everything is possible, just gotta see with an open mind. Is anybody listening to what is being said? Perhaps it's quite important, this message in my head. Heed the call and stand your ground. Trust yourself. My observation, that's my report. Don't arouse suspicion of a membrane gone insane. Everything is possible, just gotta see with an open mind.
Another alien visitor claimed.
Alright, there you go. That's observation. That was one we did. We were out by the Retro UFO convention. We were outside there by the Integratron. Pretty cool place. Alright, so what are we going to talk about now? Well, last week we heard Obama give his State of the Union, or not last week, a couple of weeks ago, State of the Union address, right? And that's been big talk about what he had to say, and pretty much those who were paying attention to what he's been doing know that he's just got up there and lied. And there's a big problem going on in the government. There's a big problem going in Washington because Congress seems to have fallen asleep at the wheel, and the president's just taking over and doing what he wants to do, and it sounds really bad. However, these things have been going on for some time. This isn't a brand new situation. And we're just noticing it this time. We're noticing it because it's a different person, but it went on with George Bush. George Bush, the whole administration, was involved with what happened with 9/11. Yet the media covered it up. And despite what people have to say about what's going on with the administration now, George Bush signed the Patriot Act, which gave and opened the doorway for Obama to do the things he's doing. So he couldn't do some of these things unless George Bush had done that. And George Bush did what he was going to do because before him, the president opened the door for him. And that's kind of how it works. So all these bad things been going on for some time. So it's good that we just kind of remind ourselves from time to time what the current events are, so we're not blind to what's taking place, but be aware that they've happened. Now, we haven't had a takeover in this country of the bad guys taking over the good guys. We've heard lots of threats about it, right? But they haven't taken over. And the reason they haven't is because I believe there's always been enough good people here in this country to want to see good things happen. And that amount of good has overridden whatever amount of bad has been out there. It's always been able to turn the tide. So that's what goes on. And the more that we can have good people doing good things, the more we change things. And sometimes the way that we have to do things is we need to be aware. Awareness is half of the battle. And if we're aware of what's going on, it can really help us to understand. I got a call from a friend the other day who was really upset because he was watching these stories about these police brutality, and he just saw the one the other day of the officers shooting at the car with the mom and the kids, and he was really angry about that, and he's starting to see some of these, and I understand that feeling because a lot of people feel that way when they see these videos, and this is just one example. And we can either get angry about things like that, which is very easy to do. It's easy to go to the anger. But perhaps we need to go the other direction. Perhaps we need to have compassion. Now, compassion doesn't mean we agree with what they're doing. It means that we take a moment to understand and feel that an emotion as a human towards them as another being, that they made a choice that negatively hurt them and was hurting others because they must be in some sort of pain. And having a moment of understanding. And if we could maybe, as beings who share this earth, have that moment of sharing that compassion, understanding that other person a little bit more, it might change. Because if we begin to think about the other people and how they are feeling, maybe we'll extend ourselves out more and other people will do the same. The world changes because we're looking at it differently. So I think that it's important that we're aware of what's going on and see and think of ways that we can change it, but at the same time not get caught up in it, because it's so easy to do with all the fear-based stories. And just remember history. We haven't been overrun because good people have done things. So be the good person who's doing something. Sometimes people say, well, I don't do anything, put any bad stuff out in the world, and that's great. So the next question would be, do you put good stuff out in the world? And sometimes people don't. They don't consciously think about that. They think that just not putting bad is good enough. And that is good. But I think if every day we stop, and if every American, if every person in the world stopped and took 5 minutes and just thought about putting love into the world and changing the world there, imagine what that might do. If we just all took that time and thought for 5 minutes about sending good energies into the world, instead of all of the materialistic things we get caught up in, it would change everything. And it's that simple. We have the minds, we have the energies, and all we have to do is... So, I'm rambling on, but oh well. Anyway, let me get over to here. These stories I wanted to show you because we understand that there's a problem going on. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some of the things we need to be aware of. We have a president that's running out of control, and here's an article, but InfoWars, Ron Paul. Here he asked the question. I'm not gonna. Well, this is Texas Straight Talk. We haven't played one of these in a while. Let me do this. All right.
Hello, this is Ron Paul with your weekly update for Monday, February 10th. President Obama's State of the Union's pledge to act with or without Congress marks a milestone in presidential usurpation of congressional authority. Most modern presidents have used executive orders to change and even create laws without congressional approval. However, President Obama is unusually brazen in that most presidents do not brag about their plans to rule by executive order in State of the Union speeches. Sadly, his pledge to use his pen to implement laws and policies without the consent of Congress not only received thunderous applause from representatives of the president's party, some representatives have even pledged to help Obama get around Congress by providing him with ideas on executive orders. The Constitution's authors would be horrified to see legislators actively aiding and abetting a president taking powers away from the legislature. Executive orders are perfectly legitimate and even necessary if, in the words of leading constitutional scholar Judge Andrew Napolitano, they, quote, guide the executive branch on how to enforce a law or complement and supplement what Congress has already done, close quote. The problem is that most modern presidents have abused his power to issue orders that, as Judge Napolitano puts it, restates federal law or contradicts federal law or does the opposite of what the federal law is supposed to do. Political opponents of the president rightly condemned Obama for disregarding the Constitution. However, it was not that long ago that many of the same politicians were labeling as unpatriotic or worse anyone who dared question President Bush's assertion that he had the inherent authority to launch wars, spy on Americans, and even indefinably detain American citizens. Partisan considerations also make some members of the opposition party hesitant to rein in the president. These members are reluctant to set a precedent of tying the president's hands that could be used against a future president of their own party. The concentration of power in the office of the president is yet one more negative consequence of our interventionist foreign policy. A foreign policy based on interventionism requires a strong and energetic executive, unfettered by constructional niceties such as waiting for Congress to pass laws or declare war. So it simply was natural, as Americans abandoned the traditional foreign policy of non-interventionism, for presidents to act without waiting for Congress. After all, the president is commander-in-chief, as he needs to protect national security, they argue. Once it became accepted practice for the president to disregard Congress in foreign affairs, it was only a matter of time before presidents would begin usurping congressional authority in domestic matters. It should not be surprising that some of the biggest promoters of an energetic executive are the neoconservatives. They are all enthusiastic promoters of the welfare state. Sadly, they have misled many constitutionalists into believing that one can consistently support unchecked presidential authority in foreign policy, but limit presidential authority in domestic matters. Until it is fully understood that virtually limitless presidential authority in foreign affairs cannot exist with strict limitations on the president's authority in domestic matters, we will never limit the power of the presidency. The people must also insist that politicians stop viewing issues concerning the separations of powers through a partisan lens and instead be willing to act against any president who exceeds his constitutional limitations. Thankfully, we have scholars such as Louis Fisher, who has just published an important new book on presidential powers to help us better understand the founders' intent with regards to the separation of powers. The key to achieving this goal is to make sure that the people understand that any president of any party who would exceed constitutional limitations is a threat to liberty, and any member of Congress who ignores or facilitates presidential usurpation is being derelict in his constitutional duties. Thanks for calling this update. A new update is placed on this number, 888-322-1414, every Sunday. The written text can be found on my free foundation website at www.the-free-foundation.org and on my Facebook page. Thanks for calling.
All right, so there you go. A little update from Ron Paul. So, what he says is very important, okay? And we just need to be aware we've got things running out of control. So what do? How do we live in a country where we have a president who's running out of control, a Congress who's out of control? We have to learn how to take care of our own selves, because we're not going to get any answers from them. They're too busy fighting amongst themselves. The biggest problem we have going on in this country is that we have too many people fighting over Republican and Democratic issues, when in fact the puppet master who controls the Democrats and the Republicans remains in the shadows, and people don't pay any attention. And so they fight back and forth. And they got the lapdogs, the media, who keeps you fighting back and forth amongst Republican and Democrat, as if those are the two best ones out there. And every year, what do people say? They're going to choose between the lesser of two evils. So we have a system that puts forth the lesser of two evils, or only puts forth evils, and we get to pick the lesser of them. But in the system as it works, elections don't even work for the people because the system is set up that everything's bought and paid for, and all the people is led around. So we have to think for ourselves. That's one thing that has to happen. We have to stop relying upon the government to provide us with all of the answers, because they're not. They're fighting amongst themselves. The best thing people could do is to go learn the history of what truly took place in this country, to learn the history of who we are, what we're about, because without that, without knowing where we came from or what our laws are in this country, then we're lost. And in many cases, if you look at the Founding Fathers, their laws are just basic understandings of being a human, being a being on this planet. Just pretty basic things. So we're pretty far away from that. But that's all tying in with where the book of Revelation, where other books of prophecy show us. Now, there are people standing up against this tyranny. We know there's a lot of them. This is recently, now after the whole Obama went out there and he had this interview with Bill, it wasn't the State Room, it was the interview with Bill O'Reilly, and he said there was nothing going on at all, right? Nothing going on, that everything with the IRS, the investigation wasn't real, and there wasn't a smidgen of a problem, right? Well, this woman here has other to say. Her name's Cleta Mitchell. Cleta Mitchell told Congress today the IRS is still targeting conservative groups. She also said the ongoing DOJ investigation is a complete sham. I want to make three primary points here. First, the IRS scandal is real. It's not pretend. It's real. Number two, the IRS scandal is not just a bunch of boneheaded bureaucrats in some remote office, contrary to what the President of the United States told the American people on Sunday. And number three, the IRS scandal is not over. It is continuing to this day, and the Department of Justice investigation is a sham. It is a non-existent investigation. All right, I'm just going to leave the link for you. I'm not going to play any of this video. It's 7 minutes long. But listen to this. This is one of those persons who are standing up for the right thing. And if we had more people in this country standing up for the right thing, good things will happen. The way that will occur is if we take the time to really think about doing the right thing. There's 307 million Americans. Of the 307 million Americans, you have a small portion that makes up the military and the executive and legislative and judicial branches of this country. If you take that small amount, we could probably say that number is somewhere under 1 million. If we want to stretch it, we say 2 million. Okay? So that number is small in comparison to the 307 million or the other 300 million that still remain. So there's many, many, many Americans that can, by simply thinking and wanting good things to happen and focusing on that, turning away from the fear, can make the good things happen. We can change. We really can. It's that simple, folks. We just have to all think together, think the things we want. All right. Here's the initial DNA analysis of Paracas elongated skull, released with incredible results. Paracas is a desert peninsula located in the Pisco region of the Inca region on the south coast of Peru. It is here where Peruvian archaeologist Julio Tello made an amazing discovery in 1928. A massive and elaborate graveyard containing tombs filled with the remains of individuals with the longest elongated skulls found anywhere in the world. These have come to be known as the Paracas skulls. In total, Tello found more than 300 of these elongated skulls, which are believed to date back to around 3,000 years. A DNA analysis has now been conducted on one of the skulls, and expert Brian Forrester has released preliminary information regarding these enigmatic skulls. It is well known that most cases of skull elongation are the results of cranial deformation, head flattening, or head binding, in which the skull is intentionally deformed by applying force over a long period of time. It is usually achieved by binding the head between the two pieces of wood or binding in cloth. However, while cranial deformation changes the shape of the skull, it does not alter its volume, weight, or other features that are characteristic of a regular human skull. The Paracas skulls, however, are different. The cranial volume is up to 25% larger and 60% heavier than the conventional human skulls, meaning they could not have intentionally been deformed through head binding or flattening. They also contain only one parietal plate rather than two. The fact that the skull's features are not the result of the cranial deformation means that the cause of the elongation is a mystery and has been for decades. Mr. Juan Navarro, owner and director of the local museum called the Paracas History Museum, which houses a collection of 35 of the Paracas skulls, allowed the taking of samples from 5 of the skulls. The samples consisted of hair, including roots, tooth, skull tone, and bone and skin, and this process was carefully documented via photos and video. Samples from 3 skulls were sent to the geneticist, although the geneticist was not given any information about where they came from until after the genetic testing, so as not to create any preconceived ideas. The results of the DNA analysis of one of the skulls are now back, and Brian Forrester, author of more than 10 books and an authority on ancient elongated headed people of South America, has just revealed the preliminary results of the analysis. He reports on the geneticist's findings. It had mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA, with mutations unknown in any human, primate, or animal known so far. But a few fragments I was able to sequence from the sample indicate that these mutations will hold that we are dealing with a new human-like creature, very distant from Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovians. The implications, of course, are huge. I'm not sure it will even fit into the known evolutionary tree, the geneticist wrote. He added that if the Paracas individuals were so biologically different, they would not have been able to interbreed with humans. The result of this analysis is only phase 1 of the many phases of the analysis due to take place. The next test will involve having the initial test replicated and conducted over other skulls, so that the results can be compared to see if any other specific Paracas characteristics will update when more details emerge. And then we got a nice video here. Getting into that video is 21 minutes long. Okay, so check it out. Pretty cool. Discovering more and more things all the time, and they will continue to do so. We will continue to do so down here. All right, this is. I thought this would be a nice little interesting piece to show you as well. This here says the coolest spot in the universe. That would be here at firstcontactradio.com. But next to that, we have the coolest spot in the universe is right here. It says latest news: NASA selects physical space science proposals for the International Space Station. 7 proposals will be funded to conduct physics research using the agency's new microgravity laboratory, which is scheduled to launch the International Space Station in 2016. The quest for ever colder temperatures has been a major theme of physics over a century, leading to such breakthroughs as the discovery of superfluidity and superconductivity, and more recently to development of laser cooling techniques and observations of dilute atomic gas, Bose-Einstein condensates, also called BEC, and superfluid Fermi gases. Beyond the great interest in the scientific aspects of these phenomena, these advances have also been at the heart of several important devices, from superconducting quantum interface devices, SQUIDs, to laser-cooled atomic clocks, and atom interferometer-based sensors such as the gravity gradiometer and global gravity mapping. The 2011 NRC Decadal Survey Report, Recapturing a Future for Space Exploration, Life and Physical Sciences Research for a New Era, recommended a set of high-priority areas in fundamental physics, which includes research related to the physics and applications of quantum gases. The Cold Atom Laboratory, CAL, will be a multi-user facility designed to study ultra-cold quantum gases and the microgravity environment of the International Space Station. one of the primary goals of this facility will be to explore a previously inaccessible regime of extremely low temperature where interesting and novel quantum phenomena can be expected. So very interesting to some of the studies going on. Just thought you might find that to be somewhat interesting. Now, as we go through this world, as we go through a day-to-day basis, one of the things I say on a consistent basis is everything is energy. And you hear this repeated over and over. I'm not the only one saying this. So, with everything being energy, and everything's moving at different rates of energy, and we have different dimensions that exist all at the same time, a lot of possibilities can occur within these energetic fields, depending on what other energies are put in there. And the possibilities occur that when we're walking in this energetic field, that we are going to pick up some of these other energies around us. We can't help it. Okay? So as we go out into the energy, if we are aware of the way that we're affected by the energies around us, it's very helpful, because that way we can know if we have any tag-alongs or not, any hitchhikers, as this article talks about. When we turn on the television, we hear stories that talk about fear all the time. That puts fear into the world. People go and they watch horror movies all the time, so that puts more fear into the world. Believe it or not, when a person is watching those shows, they're actually bringing that energy into life because they're focusing on that energy. Why do we have a world where there's darkness and bad and evil things? Because we are in our misunderstanding of how energy works. We're creating that over and over again. So we're putting that into the world. If we eliminated that, we'd eliminate that problem. So, we need to consider some of the things. Our people, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But through the process of what's going on, we pick up energies around us. Well, this article here, it's over at In 5D, Michelle Whaling, How to Identify and Clear Spiritual Hitchhikers. How do you know when you unintentionally pick up spiritual hitchhikers, and what can you do about it? Well, at this phase in the game of life and what has been termed ascension, when we ask whether we're being targeted by negative or dark energies, we are opening the door for the possibility. Your level of consciousness at this time is the only barometer of what can be allowed to influence you. Thoughts are beginning to manifest quicker now than ever, and cognizance of your thoughts has a greater impact on your ability to shield yourself against tricksters, attached negative entities, and disinformation. We are all agreed to send a portion of ourselves into a lower vibrational state in order to have a physical experience. It seems that most of us have chosen the victim role at one point or another, which gives us the illusion that we are powerless over what unfolds in our lives. It all comes back to having the awareness of what we have chosen and changing the reality that we are creating with each moment and thought. Repetitive thoughts or worries about negative entities will be more likely to manifest a lower vibrational attachment or trickster type energies due to the laws of attraction. Conversely, we have figured out that by experience that we have even tackled one of the limiting beliefs that we can move to the next level of vibration. This is similar to the analogy of Jacob's ladder or the stairway of heaven. Some people may have a shadow self that is playing a role in their lives that may be misconstrued as the dark entity or archon force in their life. Also, depending on your path, you may be experiencing the dark night of your soul, which may be misconstrued as an entity attachment influencing your reality. Some people may draw tricksters into their lives that like to hide their keys or interfere with their computers on daily tasks. Everything revolves around being aware of what you are drawing to yourself. Some people are negatively influenced by the programming from television in the form of mainstream media news, low vibrational reality shows, and movies. Some people, including young children, are being negatively influenced by music that has hidden discordant energies. Use common sense when informing yourself of what is happening in the world. Too much news can lead to sadness and frustration. Too much focus on fear or of not doing as well as you should be doing on your spiritual path, or feeling that you are not good enough, can also cause of low spiritual anxiety. Now is the time to let go of the fears of not ascending, for that is observed. If you have made the conscious choice to do so, you are the one who is standing in your own way of moving forward. So as we go down, it talks about putting our shields up to protect ourselves from these energies around us. Imagine you have an energetic egg-shaped translucent bubble of light around you that is impenetrable. Imagine you have a wall of mirrors surrounding you that make you invisible. Be careful that you are at the grocery store so someone will not run into you. So there's some great things. You have to listen to your body to feel the energies around us, to understand the power that we have. We could either say that all the spiritual books that we've been reading, the book of Revelations and all the self-help and spiritual books and everything are just great. They're just books, they're just words, and they don't really mean anything. Or we could say they do mean something, and we can put into practice what they're about. And what we've learned is that we need to understand the energies around us, that we are energetic beings, that we attract energy to us according to the things that we think about, and we can attract negative things to us because we have a negative video playing in our mind, sometimes consciously or sometimes unconsciously. And when we allow ourselves to get rid of that, we change the pattern that goes on in our lives. We get rid of the negativity that's attached to us. It's very important. So as we understand more of who we are, what we're about, we feel ourselves, that makes all the difference in the world. So some of the things that when I talk about, sometimes it seems so simple, just about love and light and, focusing on our energies, but it is that simple. Remember, Jesus said, you must be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. He didn't say you needed to be a complicated brain surgeon to get in heaven. You just got to be like a child. So therefore, the ideas of love and imagination and light are as simple as can be, because those are the things a child would do. A child loves. A child sends out positive vibes, good things. Just got to be like a child. You got to get into that mindset. And the advantage is that those people who are already grown up, that aren't in a childlike body, are in a place where they can do things differently because they're in a grown-up body that can have a little bit more effect in the world than a child. So if you combine that childlike ways with the adult abilities, you got the best of both worlds. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. We just need to focus our energies where we're going, what we're doing, what's happening around us, to be aware. All right, today here is our message from Hilarion. And it's a message for this week. Here we go.
Hilarion.
February 9th to 16th, 2014.
Hilarion.
Beloved ones, many of you are feeling a detached state of being as you assimilate the omniversal energies that have been coming in waves upon your planet in ever-increasing spirals of rainbow light. This detachment you are feeling is part of the process of a deeper introspection as you connect to a level of your being that has not been available to you before and utilize your multidimensional skills. You are finding yourselves working on many levels simultaneously, and this is creating some interesting possibilities and probabilities which you are exploring with appropriate observations and learning. It is becoming easy to create a story with just one thought that starts with the sight of a single object, and before you know it, a whole story emerges, complete with feelings and emotions. It is becoming clear that each scenario can have many different outcomes depending upon the focus you wish to explore, and therefore the need for self-discipline and responsibility with your rediscovered powers of creation. The need for clarity in the knowing of your inner desires becomes uppermost in priority during these times, as you realize that your thoughts can produce what you think upon. It behooves each individual to become the master of their thinking processes and to know when to observe what is being formulated and just let it go, because that is not what you really want to experience in your life. For as you develop a greater vibrational frequency, the more the manifestation of your thought speeds into your daily reality. Practice sending a ray of love from your heart chakra to everyone you meet or are about to meet. This universal practice will begin to prepare your relationships with others to operate at a higher level of sincere and peaceful interaction. The sending of the love ray before each encounter will create a field of open-hearted communication based on honesty and trust. This one simple act, when practiced and refined, will open doors that were closed for many ages, and the art of meaningful communication between all individuals will come to the forefront. This ability is much required to be developed amongst the human race, and as it grows and expands, humanity will have the tools necessary for interaction with all beings, including those off-planet when that time approaches. It continues to be most important to feed your thoughts with only that which is of the highest integrity and intent, so that in that process, you enhance the quality of your life experiences. As you decree a higher outcome for yourselves and your loved ones in your daily lives, you are also uplifting the lives of those in your sphere of influence, and as you practice diligently, your life takes on a golden glow of wonder, magic and sweet synchronicity. The former reign of the lower ego becomes an integrated acceptance of all facets of one's being, and wholeness within is the experience on a regular basis. The inner work continues as you refine and tweak those areas of your human expression and personality that are ready to move into integration with the higher aspects of your being. As this takes place, you regain more of your own innate divinity and greatness, and this power is felt by those around you as warmth of heart and majesty of true nobility. The inner becomes noticeable and appreciated as the true self emerges to make its divine presence felt. Until next week, I am Hylarion.
Alright, very good. So let's go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Go ahead and take another deep breath. And exhale again. Let's imagine first of all that all of our chakras are activated. Starting at the top of your head, the crown chakra. Imagine the color of violet. Imagine this violet color chakra drawing this energy from the cosmos, this bright light white pouring down into your crown chakra. And see and feel that energy moving down from the crown chakra. This white light enters your crown, becomes violet, and the violet light moves down. And right at the point between your two eyes, your third eye, where you see through dimensions of space and time, in that area, the violet color changes to indigo. And there the energy continues to move downward from your third eye, down the center of the body, and it moves down to the throat chakra, and there it changes into the color blue of the throat chakra. And then the energy continues to move down to the heart, where green, the color of the heart chakra, is seen. And the energy moves down to the next chakra, yellow, just below the rib cage, and continuing down right around the belly button, orange, and finally to the base of the spine, red. And then the energy continues on into the earth, and as it goes into the earth, see this energy flowing down into the earth like a waterfall that just continues to move from your feet downward. And imagine this energy flowing through your body from head to toe. And then as it flows through your body, down one side, imagine it flowing back up the other. So you have this energetic circuit of energy coming down, flowing down. Imagine it going down the left side of your body all the way down into the ground and coming back up the right side of your body. And even more, as this energy is circulating from the ground up through your body, imagine it weaving its way through each of the chakras. So you have this pattern, this DNA-like pattern of energy weaving its way as it moves from your crown chakra all the way down, chakra to chakra, and feel the DNA of life moving through you. And as you do so, imagine the words of today's affirmation. I forgive those who need forgiving for not being what I wanted them to be. I forgive those who need forgiving for not being what I wanted them to be. And as we understand and we forgive others, we find that we are forgiving ourselves, and that part of ourself that we kept held hostage is now released. And as we forgive, we find that within that forgiveness, we release the anger, the resentment, whatever feeling was attached to that goes away, and healing occurs. Healing for those that we forgive and those our very selves. So imagine ourselves now sending out forgiveness to the world. Forgiveness to each and every individual, knowing that we all make mistakes. We all go through challenges and we're all growing together. And let's just think of those who we're going to meet in the path of life today, and let's just send love to them. As if it is a messenger sent ahead of us. And let's imagine as we go about our way in the world today that there is this energetic messenger with us, this messenger of love that travels before us, unseen to others, and just sends love out along the path to people who you meet throughout the course of the day, making smooth your communications because they are sprinkled with love, with positivity. And let's just think of the planet bathed in light as a happy, peaceful place. Let's imagine all the good people of the world putting out all the good vibes, so much so that this wave of love and positivity washes over the planet and transforms all of those who are trying to do things that are not very nice. And let us know that we all have this power within us. And let's just imagine ourselves letting that power flow, that we become the peaceful planet that we have the ability to be. So imagine that and let our subconscious mind continue on the journey, sending out love into the world. And let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. All right, my friends, that's it for today. Thank you very much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow. Just try sending out love where you go. Hey, man, these are all great experiments, right? We're learning how to use our energy more. It's like, why not? If it's a simple thing, if it's that easy that we can use our thoughts to create our world, why not give it a go? Why not do it? Just imagine how much easier it would be. Then rather than having to change things in the physical, we kind of go to the area before the physical and we affect that, so when physical gets here, it's already been affected in a positive way by the other energetic fields. So let's give it a try. We can make it all happen. That's it. I'm going to stop rambling now, and you have a great day, and I'm going to go have a great day myself. Peace. I'm out of here.